Hello, all you Global Flows junkies. I'm Patrick Brady and bringing you today's Global Flows news. I've been on a little hiatus. I was in North Carolina for about 2 weeks for a show with Gathercraft. We were showing our outdoor furniture lines during the High Point Market. Now I'm back, and here goes some Global Flows news, mainly about China. So the first tab is China Society. What are some of the stories from China Society? China's punishment for people with bad debts. No fast trains or nice hotels. This is kind of part of that social scoring thing that they do in China, where if you are seen as a threat or you post the wrong thing, or apparently if you're in debt, then they limit your freedoms. The Chinese government limits your freedoms. So debt penalties in China, the government restricts high-speed rail, air travel, and nice hotels for debtors. The economic slowdown really has hurt a lot of people who borrowed money. They're really unable to pay back. There's an example in the article about, a woman, I think she owes $40,000 and she only makes $400 a month, something like that. So people who borrowed big during boom times, and now with the slowdown of the economy, with the tightening of the government over corporations and entrepreneurship, tough to pay back. So, and bankruptcy is not an option, kind of like in the U.S. with university loans. Bankruptcy is not an option. Chinese debtors lack bankruptcy options, limiting financial recovery. Second article is about water extraction and weight of buildings see half of China's cities sink. Over extraction of groundwater and urban growth causes cities to sink, and there's rising flood risks, and weights of buildings are too heavy for the groundwater loss and urban development. We'll see how that goes. China's fiscal stimulus is losing its effectiveness. China really tried to inject capital into the economy to create more stimulus, and it's losing its effectiveness. Debt is really hindering local efforts. In another article, we did see that China's deflationary trend has stopped and inflationary trend is on the upswing. So I think maybe consumers are more confident to buy, which could help with stimulus effectiveness. Nextly, the U.S.-China decoupling section. Wall Street steered billions to blacklisted Chinese companies. The House probe fines. These are all articles that indicate that there's trouble in paradise between U.S. and China as that decoupling continues. We invested billions to back blacklisted firms. Investments are legal but problematic, and legislative changes are urged with the U.S. government. So we'll see how that plays out. China orders Apple to remove popular messaging apps. No surprise here. China really limits. I mean, when I lived in China, and people who currently live in China, that there's no access to Facebook or Google or a lot of like U.S.-based software. Now they're attacking, or they're going after Apple apps. So WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram removed from Apple's App Store in China. Apple seems to comply with Chinese laws, and it's a challenge for Apple in China. So certainly their shareholders here in the U.S. pressure Apple not to concede to, influence from Chinese government while they want to continue to have business there. I will say that Apple iPhone sales has drastically been reduced, and some of the Chinese brands has been on the upswing, including Xiaomi. FBI says Chinese hackers are preparing to attack U.S. infrastructure. Okay, that being politicized is not good for the relationship. Flood of cheap Chinese steel fuels global backlash. Chinese steel exports rise 33%. The world reacts to cheap China imports. Countries like launch anti-dumping probes to protect local industries. Biden proposes higher tariffs. And on the lighter side, a Chinese half marathon champion is disqualified, along with runners who let him win. Runners disqualified for fixed win. He Jie and others disqualified. Sponsor X Step is blamed, and public debate over sports integrity. If you open the article, you will see a very hilarious Chinese marathon runner in the front, and then others letting him win. So pretty interesting. Yeah, the one thing I would say here is if you're interested in how our government is perceived amongst Chinese people, I've been speaking to friends and some acquaintances about how is Biden viewed in China. And I thought it was very interesting that they say that Biden's very smart and his approach to China is very smart. And their Li Hai is a word that they use for formidable opponent. So they somehow have this kind of reverence or respect for Biden, which is interesting. So anyway, that's the end of Global Flows this week, and we'll catch you next week. Thank you for subscribing, and hope you enjoy the newsletter and these articles. Take care. God bless.